Hey guys, Heavy Arms 45 here. It's almost will be into November, which means we have made it past Halloween. Halloween will be over until another year. Now we finna get, then we don't get ready for that gobble gobble time. Well, I'm not done talking about the gobble gobble time yet. I'm gonna try and keep this talking about Halloween since it's still October. But since I had two things planned for Halloween, so I'm going to go ahead and put both of them out today. If you saw the other one before, this is just letting you know about it. So I hope you enjoyed me and my sister just sitting there talking about different cliches that we saw in movies that some of them are ridiculous and we all know about them. But I want to also, since I haven't did this in a while, and y'all have, I've had people send me a suggestion because, about 2 months ago I brought up a video talking about who could go against Akame from Akame Ga Kill, and for a month no one said anything. Then I did get one, and I need to brush up on Saya from Blood Sea before I want to do that. So I looked at a couple episodes. I watched the movie, and I think I'm relatively ready for that one. But then someone else also put onto my video for who could go against Akame, and they put Kirito from Sword Art Online. So, and a thing that I haven't did before, and since it's been Halloween and we have a demon blade, a vampire, well, not vampire in this, but Elderberry, and I'll just go ahead and throw him in there, a techno fighter. We're having a three-way fight. We would have Akame from Akame Ga Kill versus Saya versus Kirito. And as always, let me go ahead and do what I normally say. And this would be a very interesting fight, but it's not one that will happen. Like, you would not see these three in a room, let alone a battlefield, I don't feel like. If Kirito, Saya, and Saya, I'm hoping I'm saying her name right, and Akame ran into each other, I don't see any. Saya wants to make sure that humanity is not safe, but protected in a way. She doesn't really like him, but she also doesn't like the Elder Barons either. So it's like, yeah. So she doesn't. I don't see her having a problem with Akame or Kirito. Kirito, while skilled in the real world, his skills in the skills that he has actually, once he's goes into the full dive system, is what we're going through. And so we'll use him in the virtual world. And even if not, Akame and him are soft-hearted people. They care about people. So I don't see them having any issues with each other. And Saya, like I said, she doesn't really like humans, but she also doesn't like her own. I don't think she would really give a crap about Akame or Kirito. So that's what I think. Skills wise, it's a sword fight. And sure, the thing about Kirito that we would have to say is that Kirito is used to, energy bar. There's been times where he's fought and it's life or death, but most of the times he has something that basically gauges how much life he has left. And from what he knows of whatever life he has left, he's able to figure out how much damage he can take before he falls out. In a situation like this, there is no gauge. Let's say that he's in the VR system, full dive system that has these two characters in it. So we're bringing them into his world. And let's say that in this situation, there is no gauge that can tell you how much left you have. It's just like kind of like what happened in Overlord. You don't know how much life you had. Like Ainz actually said that he doesn't know what his gauge is because it's not shown anymore to him. But he kind of can feel out. It's like a feeling now to him. So, you know, just like in regular life, you know how much further you can go. If you were running and you're like, I can't take no more. You know, with this, let's say that that's basically their situation. So, putting them into his world to where it's somewhat of a fair fight, it's still not a fair fight. You have Kirito does have good speed, but I'm not sure if it would be on par with Saya or with Akame. Both, and he's also at a slight disadvantage because the weapons that they're using. Both Saya and Akame use a katana, while he looks to be two long swords. Long swords are not bad, you know, but they're very straight. They do a lot of, I won't say hacking. Like when you see him fight, a lot of his attacks going through whoever he's trying to hit. Instead of that happening, a lot of times when you use a katana, it's more of a slice. So while he has to hit directly onto them, but with his sword being a very straight sword, he has to do a lot of, basically, he's swinging in the hack. The katana was made to basically slide off and basically slide into the target instead of just basically hacking away like you would a axe or some in other weapon like that. But that's what somewhat the sword does. It's straight, so it just basically cuts into it. What a katana does is basically it takes it and it, with the motion of your body, it kind of rolls and slices through the body instead of somewhat of a hacking motion. And I guess it will also depend on the way Kirito uses it, but a lot of times you see that he uses the flow of his body and he kind of like cuts through things instead of it being sort of like slices in a way. So he does have an advantage of him. He is a person who uses two swords, so his dual wielding ability is an advantage to him. But at the same time, you're talking about you're having attacks come from two different sides, from people that are amazingly strong. And this is where there's a slight disadvantage to both Saya and Kirito, because Akame's sword doesn't matter how it cuts you, but it's that if it cuts you, you're dead. It's a cursed blade. It's, even if we were trying to put that into, like, if we were putting that into Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons, which basically what you could say Sword Art Online is, you have to put that as a weapon that when strikes, it's kind of like the idea of Vorpal. Vorpal says that once, if it's able to get a crit, one of them now says that it will cut your head off. But it used to be where it just automatically cut off a limb whenever it basically struck somebody. You know, Vorpal made it to where weapons were dangerous, but people had to refine it. Or if I remember correctly, because like I said, I started Dungeon Dragon back in during the 3.0 time, so I will have to check my book again. But because of that reasoning, the weapons that they have, Saya's weapon isn't very special. As I remember, she had the weapon that she just got from the broker, and that was basically like she broke it, she wouldn't got another one. So he has multiple blades that she's able to use. They're just, I can't remember exactly what's special about them, but her weapons, she has like I said, her katanas work pretty well. She's fairly fast. I won't say that with the three of them fighting at the same time, the most likely person to be taken out first will be Kirito. And not because he's the weakest one, but it's just that trying to fight two people on two different sides, and he can parry with one of the swords, but then he would have to attack with the other one, and that would put him into a disadvantage, because if he has two people attacking, and I'm not saying that they're attacking each other, I mean attacking him, like double teaming him, but also in a situation like that, there's a moment where everyone gets double teamed. Even Akame could get double teamed, but the thing is that Akame is the only one out of the three of them that has a one-hit sword. If her sword is able to actually scratch their body, her sword's already put the curse in on them. There's the only thing, and I'm trying to think of ways that Saya and Kirito could win. And out of the multiple weapons that Kirito has had, none of them have had a special ability that I can think of that could basically, that special ability could give him a heads up, like a heads up or anything like that make him better. They are good weapons, but they're not, they're also very lightweight. But there's no, like, unlike him, Akame's sword scratch you dead. Saya's sword scratch you, you'll live. You're just scratched, you know. There's an advantage for each one of them, like I said. And maybe I should say, I don't remember if I said the advantages of Saya, but Saya's Elder Bear abilities does give her increased speed, increased strength, and Saya's sword is basically her biggest advantage. Also, she's trained to be a mercenary her entire life. Kirito would probably be kind of just trying to live it out. It's not, he spends a lot of time fighting to protect someone. In this situation, the only person he's trying to protect is himself. And I don't really know if he thinks very highly of himself. I won't say he doesn't, but even if that wasn't the case, having one person who sword literally is the key to her power. If, let's say that the only way that they could be her is if they were able to get that sword out of her hand. Now, like any other time, no one knows what her sword's abilities are. You know, we're basically taking this from a point of view of, these are just three people that ran up on each other and decide to start fighting. There's nothing, really special about how they got here. It's just that it's nothing special about how they got here. It's just that they here. It's not a yeah, I studied up on you before we came to this. No, we just met. I don't know what you have. You don't know what I have. So the elder bearing thing would be an advantage because no one would know what she can do. But at the same time, we've seen Akame go against people who had the ability to turn, looks like almost an entire city block into ice. That literally could stop time, which I have to say that the only reason she won that was because she knew about it before. So because she saw that move before, she was able to prepare for it. She was able to go against somebody who was able to stretch out his limbs. She was able to fight against her sister who was able to summon people that her sword killed into fighting for her. There's a lot of experience behind what Akame has run into. She's run into people with brute strength, and usually she's able to speed out them. I think that if she went against Saya, that would be the first person that she ran into that has both strength and power. That would be a difficult. She's also had a person who was able to read her mind. Granted, a lot of times Akame wins because she gets a little bit of information before her battle, which basically helps her later on in her battles. Like when I can't think of his name. There was a character who had a Imperial arms that let him read minds. If the main character would not have told Akame about that, she would not have been able to fight against it because she didn't know about his ability. Because everybody was like, well, we know he has Imperial arm, but we don't know which one it is. So when she came up to fight him, she knew exactly what his Imperial arms was going to do. So, and I feel like this is long. It's not supposed to be. I'm going to give it to Akame just because it's sort of in wrestling, it's sort of like a handicap match against a champion. In any situation, the champion could lose, but they also have what they call the champion's advantage. And Akame didn't win off the bat. Like I said, you were talking about with there being 3 people in the fight, and I'm not saying that any of them would lay off and take a breather, but I'm saying all 3 of them fighting hard. So that means all 3 of them come from different corners. They attack each other, and with Kirito being there, it gives to where your focus is not on just one person. It's on 2 different people. Sure, Kirito can block both of them at some point, but eventually someone's going to get scratched. And the first person to get scratched is going to be where someone's going to start asking questions. What happened to him? Akame already knows. So let's say that the first person who was to get scratched while trying to fight off in this little rumble we have is Kirito. Well, Saya then sees that he died, and she don't think that, it could have been a spell that Akame used or anything. That, there's not really. It's not really saying that it was the thing of the sword, unless you go with and do the anime trope thing, which is technically big in Akame ga Kill, that whenever your weapon does something and no one knows what to do, kind of like also with Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to explain what just happened. What happened to him? Oh, my sword has the ability to kill anyone that it scratches. And that would give Saya a little bit of advantage of knowing what's going on. But I don't know if it's enough for her to not get scratched, because the same scenario could go to where Saya gets scratched, Kirito sees this, and Kirito can block as much as he wants, but Akame could probably scratch him too. And I'm going with the idea of we know that elder barons have pretty good strength. Have good strength and speed. And we've seen several different types of them in Blood Sea. And each one of them had different things. We've seen rock skin bodies. We've seen the rabbits. Not all of them have thick skin. And Saya's durability seems to be that of a human body. So I would have gave her the advantage of having thicker skin, but I don't see her having thicker skin. She seems to get hurt quite a bit. So I'm going to say that it'll be Akame. You can agree, disagree. I completely understand if you disagree. But I really can't see, and maybe y'all can put something in the comments on how you could defeat Akame's sword. I don't see how, if you can think of a way of stopping the sword, because it's a one strike, one kill move. So just a scratch. It doesn't have to be a deep cut. Just any way it scratches you, it's the end of your life. So leave a comment. Maybe y'all can give me some other people y'all like to have go against each other. And I said I wasn't gonna do that anymore. But just leave a comment on what you thought about this. I usually try to keep this about 10-15 minutes, and I went over. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you later.